one and a two and a 1, 2.
What's up, my peoples? Welcome back to another episode of The Wheel of Life. My name is John, and I am here today with a very special guest, my mother.
Hi, I'm the Queen Mother.
We have a very special episode today. Normally you hear about my perspective, you hear about the things I go through on a daily basis with my spinal cord injury, but one thing you learn after a spinal cord injury is that it doesn't just affect you, it affects your whole entire family. And so I have brought on the Queen Mother, my mother, to tell her side of how myself being a quadriplegic has affected her. The first 17 years of life were pretty normal. I had a great mom and dad, a sister, and my gram lived with us, and had a great childhood.
Very blessed.
But then one night, like I've said before, everything fell apart. And Mom, I'd like you to, from your perspective, you've heard my perspective in other videos, can you take us through the night of the accident, the phone call you remember getting?
Yeah. Well, let's go to my part. I was sitting on the couch, watching the TV. I called John, told him to come home, blah, blah, and I was expecting him to come home and any minute. And, in the distance, off in the background, I heard some sirens. And I didn't give it a single thought. I was just watching my TV, waiting for him to come in. Then I got the phone call from his friend, his very good friend, crying and carrying on and saying John's been in an accident. Let me take you to where I was right then. John's been in an accident. That's something we've never really dealt with in our life. Now I'm like trying to simmer him down. What kind of accident? He's at the hospital. Is he okay? I could barely get a word out of him. So I'm all frantic. Call my aunt and waiting for her because I didn't have a car. My daughter was gone. I was by myself. My husband at the time was a truck driver, so he was way off somewhere. So I was frantic. Call my sister, couldn't get a hold of her. Call my aunt, got a hold of her. She couldn't understand me. I was, I guess, not able to be understood. So I told her to come get me as best I could. John's in the hospital. Come and get me. Come and get me. I tell you, that felt like, from my perspective, like 2 hours waiting. I went out the front door, went down the front steps, was at the side of the road on South Main Street, pacing up and down, waiting, and no Aunt Becky. The headlights coming, zing bast, no, my aunt's not that. Now I'm in the middle of the road, in like the yellow line, ready to rip my clothes off because because John, this doesn't happen. What was going on, I didn't know. I was all worked up. Finally, I swear it was 10 hours later, but it wasn't. Up she pulls, I get in the car, and we scoot to the hospital at Athol. When I went into Athol Hospital, all the kids from the different cars were all on either stretchers or whatever, parents everywhere. When I came in, I noticed, as I look back on it, not at the time, I noticed that the doctors and things were looking at me funny. They had this concern, everybody did. They're all like, oh, here she comes, and I didn't have a clue. I'm thinking, so when I went into one of the rooms, John was awake and fine, who I thought he was fine. He was awake. Hi, Mom. I love you. I'm thinking, oh, okay, this is good. You're alive. Okay, let's relax. Not realizing that he had a spinal cord injury. Until what happened from my point of view is then the helicopter comes. We're all wondering, why is the helicopter coming? Someone said something about his breathing. So I thought, okay, all right, well, they're going to take him as precaution. So I got in, followed behind the helicopter in my daughter's car. And as sure as I'm sitting here talking to you, I remember sitting in the back seat, and I was being drove. My daughter said something to the fact, because I was clueless, something to the fact like, they said he can't feel his legs. All of a sudden, like a lightning bolt in the gut, I stopped. I can remember exactly, and I don't have a good memory, but I can remember I sat there and everything in me stopped. And I said to my daughter, just like this, I said, you don't think he's paralyzed? That's exactly what happened. And my daughter looks and she says, oh, no, absolutely not. No, he's fine. There are precautions.
Surprise.
Never did I dream when I got to UMass that was what was going on. Okay, so let's go to the ICU, okay? I get there. They brought us to the quiet room. Thinking, why am I going to the quiet room? What is going on? What the world is the quiet room? Some doctor that was important came in to me, and told me, the mother, please, come with me. So I walked myself, followed that doctor, and he stood there, this great big doctor in this white coat, very prestigious doctor, an older man, an older doctor. I wish I knew his name. Anyways, he stood there and he put this x-ray, the light on the x-ray, and he looked at me and he says something like, this was it, like this. This is your son's injury. Your son's a quadriplegic. It was awful. Awful. I wish I knew who that doctor was, because he was really handled that life-changing thing horrible. In the meantime, we go up to ICU, and I finally got a chance to go up there. There's John, and in the bed, rocking back and forth, and
There's a special turning bed.
Yeah, so his skin didn't break down, and his mop of curly hair, crazy curly hair, like he was in the bed, and I just was at bedside for months.
My mom never left the hospital really once.
Yeah, because I couldn't, because I kind of was his nurse.
Yeah.
Nobody watches your kid like your mother. I don't care what it is. Amen. I would lay in that chair, because they had the chair that laid out. When I'd fall asleep, and when I'd wake up, all I'd see from my chair in this bed making all kinds of noises, all kinds of activity going on all through the night, was the top of my son's hair in the bed. When you wake up out of your sleep, when your child is in a trauma, you wish you'd never woke up. I'm sorry. It was right back into hell.
Let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
The night that I was hurt, that first night in ICU, and the doctor told you that I was a spinal cord injured person, I would never walk again, what ran through your mind?
What's going to happen to my son? That's what ran. What do I do? Like, I was in total, like, what? How am I going to take care of him? What do I do?
Can you tell them what you said to the doctor?
Well, then, at one point, quickly, I had to meet with these doctors, all of these doctors in this room with all this table. And so, as they're talking to me, well, then I said to him, they're talking about this, that, and the other. And so then I said to him at first, so you mean to tell me I only have this much of my son left, like his head to here? Might as well cut the rest off and throw it out, right? Because it's of no use. So this is what I got of my son right here. This is what I was thinking. Play the guitar. He has no hand functions. That's done. Boom. He skateboarded. That's done. Boom. He, drove his little truck. That's done. Boom. He had a girlfriend. That was done. Boom. Which I was just as glad. Sorry. And anyways, so let me tell you something. What happened when I was in the hospital, day after day after day after day. I'm just telling you from a mother's perspective, mine. I walked those little tile squares in the hospital halls till I knew every square color that was there. And I had the same path. I would walk, not on the cracks. I would step around. I made it like a game. It sounds ridiculous. But and then I would go in his room at night, and I would sit and I would look out the window, and I would look down at the city. And this was in my heart, okay? And I looked down at the city, and I watched everybody walking all around the city. And I looked at the buildings, and I would look in the windows and try to see any figures in the windows. And I'd think, I wonder where they're going right now. I wonder, they look so normal. I wonder what they're doing right now. Honestly, I'm not kidding. It sounds like it was. I really was trying to put myself there. That person must be going home from work. Like, in other words, they're normal people out there. And my life is,
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen.
You were trying to grasp for normalcy.
I was trying to do that.
Now, after ICU, I went to Boston Medical Center
Mm-hmm.
in rehab. And what was your experience like in the rehab
Well,
How did that go for you?
scary. Everything was a major hurdle with John, because John wasn't just this. Let me tell you this. Wait, John wasn't just hurt and then he recovered, because there was quite a few people that he knows in the world of his world that, you know, bounced right back. Well, John didn't. And every time John got up, it was a major hurdle. He was passing out, he was throwing up, and then he had, he had an abscess in his stomach tube. He had this, he got that, I mean, you name it, he had it, okay? So he couldn't recover in rehab like a normal. And I would be in rehab, and these young fellas, nice looking fellas, nice personable fellas would roll on in, and they would roll on in looking like so nice. They had their clothes all on. I even looking at their jeans, because at this point, John's
Talking about other guys in chairs.
in chairs. John, this is my son laying in bed like this, with his nighties on and his thing on. Like, I'm looking like, what is going to become of him? Then I see these couple young fellas roll in with their nice jeans on. And I think, oh, so okay. I mean, this is how clueless I was. And they'd roll in and they're just rolling around like no big deal. And I'm thinking, oh, why isn't my son doing that? Because he couldn't even get in a chair, okay? Even when we came home, finally, from the hospital in rehab, on a stretcher, may I say, this was how it was. I held it all in as a mother. Because let me tell you why. When my son could not sit upright in a chair for, how long was it?
Months upon months.
Maybe a year? Maybe?
Long time.
Wait. And when someone would come in, this is what I would see. Till finally, it's okay at first. He's trying to get adjusted with his blood pressure and stuff. But this was every day. This is my son.
I don't know if they'll be able to see you on the camera.
Down he goes.
Yeah.
His head between his legs. Now here comes someone visiting him. Hi, John. Pastor would come over, a pastor. Hi, John, how are you? Talking, he couldn't even lift his head up to talk. Now, this just didn't happen once because he wasn't feeling good on a day. This happened all the day long. Till finally I, as a mother, you want my mother's view, was ready to snap. Okay? And many a day, I got on the phone and broke my heart crying, because I think, I don't care that he's in a chair. I understand he's hurt. We can do it. We can handle it. But why can't he just sit up like normal and roll around like normal? Why is he got to be like that? You know? So it was hard. And then when spring would come around, because it was August he got hurt, then we went through the winter. When spring came, oh, that was a kick too, because you get that young, he's only going to be 18, and the young, it's times going out and driving his little car and stuff, and I'd be like, oh my goodness, I hate this weather, this nice weather, because where's John? Where's my beautiful son? In bed. It was hard from a mother's point of view. My daughter would come home from the hospital, because I'd be there, and she'd leave me and she'd come home and she'd call me crying. Let me put it this way. It was a whole family trauma, okay? And I think actually we, at the beginning, went through the worst of it because he was out of it.
Yeah,
so,
I didn't really know those were ringing.
Yeah, and so then she'd come home, she'd see his skateboard in the corner. She'd say, oh, I feel like I hear him on his computer upstairs. Like everything she looked at, that's what happens when someone even passes away. You look at things, there is like, it's empty. And it's like a mourning.
Let me ask you a question about your rehab stay and the ICU. Was there things that, do you feel that you were taught adequately about what a spinal cord injury is?
Well, no, I don't feel like they explained to me very good that, your skin could break down. I didn't realize when he was in ICU that his hands didn't work. I didn't really realize about all of that stuff. Like, I didn't even know. Like, I thought one day someone said, "Oh, his hand moved." I'm thinking, "Oh, good. That's awesome." You know,
It's really just a spasm.
it was a spasm. You know, it was nothing. You know, but I didn't know that. But in rehab, they did teach you to, you know, how to, you know, take care of things, personal things, and I feel like they did that a good job because I feel like I came home like a nurse. I have my nursing degree. So, you know, and they did. They
It's
did.
the best nurse I've ever met.
I am the best nurse. And let me tell you something, everybody out there in TV land. I saved this boy's life more than once. I am not joking in that hospital. I remember one time this dumb doctor comes in and was suctioning John, and he's suctioning John, and John's in the bed.
Down my breathing tube.
Down his breathing tube to get the mucus out, and he's doing this, and I'm on the wall looking at him, and John's like going, he's like, he's lights out, you know, lights, camera, action.
Mom was like an action star in there.
I was.
When I was choking on my whatever I was choking on that day, and I couldn't breathe, and everything was going black, and the doctor next to my bed wasn't paying attention. Mom ran out of that room. She ripped the bamboo bag off the wall.
A superhero.
She hooked that thing up. And
I saved him more than
life.
once. I'm not joking. I saved him more than once, and I'm not. Honestly, I can say that.
For newly injured parents out there,
Yeah.
What is the one tip you would give them about the hospital?
Don't leave your child. Hats off to the hospital, because honestly, I know he's here. Okay, so they saved him to some, but nobody, as I said, can handle. You're like your mother.
Coming home, you were married. You had another child, my older sister. How do you feel that my spinal cord injury affected the household?
I feel we were in chaos. That's where our faith comes in. I feel like if he brought us through this. So I feel like, in a way, I don't want to say, people think, oh, that must have been awful. It was awful. Don't get me wrong. Nobody wants to see your son, your child like that. But I feel like at first we hung together.
So do you think at the beginning of my injury, you would say that this injury brought us closer together as a family?
So I feel like we were a team.
Okay.
Yeah,
What brought us
I feel like
closer
we were a
together?
team. Everybody hung in there. Everybody did their part, from my daughter to my husband. Of course, he was off driving a lot. And I think, you know, men handle things different. Everybody was good. But I must say, like a lot of you moms out there, hats off to you, because your mother don't leave you. Okay?
Well, that's the truth.
That's the truth. Amen.
You just mentioned our faith.
Yes.
Do you believe this injury brought you closer to God or farther away from God?
Oh my goodness, closer. When you go through something, you can either say, oh, blame God and turn your back on him and be angry and bitter. But I was never like that. Never, ever, ever was I like that, because God brought us through this. And you know what? He didn't cause that accident. He could have picked John up. He could have swished. He could have he created the world. He could have stopped that accident that night. He could have stopped everything. But he allowed it to happen. And my son, honestly, is fine. And you know what? We've seen a million miracles. Miracles.
We could have a whole other video on that.
Yeah,
How many miracles we've
miracles.
seen. So this is a question that I'm sure a lot of people might wonder and think about. Do you believe that my injury affected your marriage?
I don't believe that. And people do all the time. They think that all the time. I feel like we were all a team.
Yeah, so for the people who don't know us personally, you and my dad ended up splitting.
Yes,
later-
but
later
a good
on.
long time. Just,
Yeah, it was about 8
it was a good
years
long
or so.
time after, and it was other things. I don't blame it on him. Although people say, "Oh, he couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle John. He couldn't handle it." Well, I don't feel that way. You
I don't
know,
either.
I don't. That's a cop out. But whatever.
Yeah, and my dad passed away a couple years
Yeah,
ago.
and he did. He
and,
passed away, and we miss him.
He was always there for me as a kid. And,
He was the
you know,
best dad.
Best dad ever
Yeah.
when I was young. And,
Yeah.
life changes and life
Yeah.
happens. And
Life changes.
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
So on the next. All right, so I have 2 questions that our followers asked. This one comes from Reading Mama Reviews. She's on Instagram if you want to check her out. She wanted to know, what is something that you know now that you wish you knew then?
That it can turn out and be better than it was. Okay?
Yeah.
It sounds crazy, but like myself back then when he was hurt, I thought, oh boy, I kept thinking, what is going to happen? What's going to do? What's he going to do with his life? What's going to happen to him? And now I wish I knew, because it saved me, even though I didn't overly fret about it, because I knew God had us. But if I knew then what I know now, that my son's just fine and he's stronger than ever. God has blessed us tons.
This is me_Gummo asked, when does it get easier, if ever?
It does get easier, it gets easier because you know what? Your life gets in a routine, and now it's in a new routine. That's just what they always said. It's my new normal. It's what they always say. Sometimes that aggravates me, but it is true. Like, you get in your routine and you get on it, and honestly, life goes on. Life goes on, and you know what? For the amount of time that we're on this earth, this is fleeting. And guess what? One of these days, and it ain't going to be very long, when my son and we all that believe in the Lord go to heaven, guess what? My son's not stuck like this. My son's going to have a whole new body, get up and run out of there and do. So, but on this earth, it's hard, but it does get easier. There is hope. Look for the little blessings in every little thing, because you'll see them.
As we wind this down, to any new parents with a kid that just got injured,
yes,
what do you have any parting words for them?
Hang on. No, I just say, ask a lot of questions to the doctors, and know that it's going to even out. It might not, like John is not going to have a body like he did before walking, but it does even out, and it's okay. Right?
Solid.
That's it.
All right, guys, so that was our video. Hopefully this brought some encouragement to you if you're newly injured.
Just be encouraged.
Parents of newly injured patients. It's a bumpy road. It's not easy, but it does get better. And, if you want to hear more from my mom's perspective, leave it in the comments below. If you want to subscribe, we'd love to have you subscribe to our channel, because we produce more content like this that hopefully encourages newly injured people in their life, their faith, and their disability. And we hope everyone's staying safe. We hope you're keeping the faith. And we will see you soon. Let's go.